Welcome to Public Speaking with Peter George. Do you want to be calm, confident, and credible every time you speak in public? Then stay tuned as Peter and his guests discuss public speaking tips, techniques, and tactics that help you increase your impact, influence, and income. Here's your host, Peter George.
My guest this week is Sima Dahl. Sima is a branding visionary who revolutionizes the way audiences think about generating demand. Her early career as an award-winning marketer paved the way for Sway Factor, her groundbreaking model of modern influence that explores personal branding and its impact on traditional business and employer brands. Sima has traveled from Boston to Budapest, showing sales, marketing, and HR leaders how to drive sales, attract top talent, and increase retention by leveraging this unorthodox branding trifecta. Sima is a certified speaking professional, a distinguished Toastmaster, and a self-proclaimed live music junkie. Known for her bold candor, unfiltered honesty, and charismatic style, today, Sima will share her thoughts on confidence, communication, and personal brands. Here's my chat with Sima Dahl. Welcome, Sima. It's great to have you with us today.
Oh, I'm so delighted to be part of your podcast. Thank you for the honor.
Let's talk about how you got started. I know that you have 20 years as a B2B corporate marketer behind you and then about 10 years on your own. And I've been working on my own for about 30 years now. And I know it can be a really daunting undertaking to go out on your own. When you first got started, where did your leads come from?
Well, that's a funny question because I had to do some homework to figure exactly how did I get started in this profession of ours. And as it turns out, I made my name as a high-tech marketer, as you say. And so my early business was marketing consulting. And I had naturally attracted a lot of high-tech clients in the Chicagoland area and elsewhere in the country. And it was someone I knew through those connections that invited me to give a presentation on guerrilla marketing for high-tech companies. It was a free speech, and I did it purely for fun, to share what I knew with fellow business owners and marketers. And I got bit by the bug. And I started telling people that I was a speaker. And so initially, and quite a few still to this day, all my leads came by way of referral.
That's a great way to get leads. And it says a lot for you when you continue to get them that way.
That's right.
It's obviously done well for you because you're not just a speaker, you're a certified speaking professional. Can you explain what that means and how you actually achieve that certification?
Absolutely. The CSP, as we call it, is a certification awarded by the National Speakers Association to any member of the global speaking community. You know, someone who has to be part of a global speaking federation, if you will, who achieves a certain amount of business by volume, by dollar amount, by audience size, year over year, for a minimum of 5 years, along with video that's reviewed by your peers, client testimonial, and a lot of other hoops you have to jump through. It's a rigorous process, but a rewarding one, because now I'm one of roughly 15% of speakers worldwide who've earned the designation. And that's not to say there aren't millions of great speakers who haven't earned it, but it tells the world that we as a CSP have a commitment to the craft.
And you've achieved that quite recently, correct?
That's right. It takes a minimum of 6 years. Your first year, you're a candidate, and then you have to demonstrate 5 years of the business operations that have you being legit, if you will. And so I started the process early in my business, and I earned it in 2017.
Congratulations. Hey, as a speaker and a personal branding expert, you know firsthand how beneficial public speaking can be for one's career, not just speakers, but just about any profession. Can you give us an idea about knowing how to deliver concise, compelling, and engaging messages can help one's personal brand?
Absolutely. A lot of people think confident speaking and competent communication is just for a professional speaker. But I can tell you, increasingly, speaking skills is a big part of how you are perceived as having executive presence, management potential, leader potential, and organizations bring me in to teach these very skills to their high potential leaders and their young managers because it is so critical to express your knowledge quickly, succinctly, to be able to lean into a conversation that's moving fast and interrupt gently and share your thoughts. Even responding to a random question in the hallway from a supervisor, the ability to put your words into an organized fashion and quickly share what you know, that's money right there.
I often see people who work on their personal brand and they work on the visual things. They have the right car, the right suit, the right watch, but they really don't take how they speak seriously. I think that often undermines what they're trying to achieve.
We've all been in those meetings where someone asks a question, raises their hand, asks a question, then asks it a different way, then meanders off into a personal story, then comes back to the question, and at that juncture, your eyes have rolled back into your head. Or the person answering the question does so in a roundabout fashion that by the time you get to the answer, I'm no longer listening. It really does undermine your ability to convey your intelligence. And it is difficult for many people. I myself, when I started my corporate marketing career 1,002 years ago, I was not a confident communicator. I knew I had the knowledge, but I didn't have the gravitas, if you will. So it's something that I have practiced and continue to this day to practice as a means by which to climb the corporate ladder, to get ahead in the world.
Well, you talk about practice. Let's talk about preparation. A lot of people don't see the need for the preparation. It's, hey, I know what I'm talking about, and I have the guts to get up in front of people, so I don't need to prepare. How do you see preparation and how important that it is in one's career?
Well, that's an interesting question. I want to answer first the practice part and then come back to the preparation. So by practicing, people think if I'm not good at speaking, how does speaking more count as practice if I'm not getting the feedback? So practice can take on a couple of different outfits. One might be practicing as part of a Toastmasters club. Toastmasters is an international organization where everyday people go to practice their speaking skills. And it's a safe, fun environment to get, quickly organize your thoughts, practice extemporaneous speaking, and practice giving prepared speeches. Some large organizations have their own speaking clubs. Oftentimes your place of worship or your chamber of commerce. Or you can start right? If you know you're not a skilled speaker, this is something you want to pursue. Don't let the absence of a club get in your way. Just go ahead and start one. Another way to practice is to just record yourself. And it can be audio recording only, or when possible, I like to set up my iPhone and record my whole body. So I see the gestures I'm making. I see any nervous tics that have started to creep back into my presentation. So practice is a big part of it. Preparation, on the other hand, sometimes we can and sometimes we can't. If you know you are going to have to deliver a prepared speech, then knowing your material, creating a solid outline, and then being willing to let it go in the moment is the biggest tip I can give. A lot of people over-prepare to the point where they know every word in order. Peter, you've probably seen this. They get thrown off, lose their place, and they can't regroup.
Now, once their brain starts looking for that next word and can't come up with it, they're completely lost.
That's right. So for me, preparation is really about practice. It's about knowing your material, building a strong outline, and then giving yourself freedom within that outline to be extemporaneous, be present, and not be overly rehearsed. To this day when I present, if I need to share a lot of statistics or quote someone in a lengthy quote, I'll pull out an index card and I'll say, I want to get this right. So I'm going to read it to you, or let me refer to a slide, because I don't have the kind of mind that remembers statistics. So you have to know where you excel and where you need support, and be a little kind to yourself. Nobody's flawless, not even the best.
And no one holds that against you when you take out a card to read like you said, a quote or a stat or something. And I think it was Einstein said, why remember anything you can look up in a book?
It's so true. And when you do that, when you're human in the room, say, oh, I can't remember, but it's something like, or I don't have this verbatim, but it went something like this. You give permission to everyone around you to just speak human to human as well. The more rehearsed we sound, the less real we sound. And that can be a barrier to having your message understood.
I believe one of the things that allows them to relax a little and get into your message and be engaged is you as a speaker demonstrating confidence. What do you think on that?
I do agree. I do agree. And confidence is something that it's interesting. You can behave in a confident manner without feeling confident, and your confidence will grow. You can game yourself into exhibiting signs of confidence, and before you know it, you realize that looking confident and being confident is one and the same. We put a lot of pressure on people to be flawless, to be perfect, to be poised. And the truth is, it's the opposite. What we want is a real human, passionate speaker, well organized thoughts, who's willing to stumble and fumble a bit, but keep the conversation going. I think confidence is underrated and overrated in the same breath. How's that for an articulate answer? You've got to be able to lean into a conversation and speak up. I find that when we really, I do an exercise in the room. I'll give you an example. I do an exercise when I'm working with emerging leaders around confidence and speaking. And it's really simple. Write down the top 3 things that you fear will happen in the room. And you hear things like, I'm afraid I'm going to look stupid, or sound, uninformed, or I'm afraid that the topic will have already been addressed, or all of these things. 99% of it is noise in our head. So, then we go through worst case example. You ask a question that's already been asked. Someone tells you it's already been asked, and you just respond with confidence. I'm sorry I missed it. I'll circle back at the end of the meeting. Right? My mind was elsewhere. I have deadlines. It's a human condition. And we fear these horrific outcomes. What if the audience falls asleep? Then I have to say, what are the odds that 500 people simultaneously fall asleep? 0.
Exactly.
0. Right? So, really breaking down your fears into what is the likelihood that will happen? It's often very unlikely. And then second, can I handle it? Will I survive? I really go there with my clients because we're all thinking too much about the worst possible outcome rather than the best possible outcome.
Many of my clients, when we first start working together, that's one of their thoughts is, what if I don't look confident? And they're also the same people who don't want to look their audience in the eye. And one of the things I maintain is that you'll have confidence when you walk out there, and when you look someone in the eye and they're listening and they're engaged, you'll have more confidence. And it just keeps building and building and building as you go. And the more you do this, the more comfortable you'll be with the next one.
I couldn't agree more. I'll say to a client, chances are you had your first beer at a young age and you didn't like it either. But look at you now, right? It does get easier with practice. And you don't have to look somebody eyeball to eyeball. The little hack I use is telling somebody to look at the bridge of my nose. Just look at the bridge of my nose, and it will appear as if you're looking me in the eye. And of course, the larger the audience, the less you're looking a single person in the eye, but rather a center of the room, a corner of the room. And you have to practice holding that gaze until it feels a tiny bit awkward. And that's really where practice can be helpful, because the other person doesn't recognize that they are being recognized immediately. So when you look somebody in the eye and you bounce away, they have missed the fact that eye contact was made. You have to hold it a little bit longer than you would in casual conversation. And then people really they feel acknowledged. They feel, that you're the center of your attention, and they believe that you know what you're talking about. Absolutely.
When people say, at least this is the way I look at it, when they say to me, this is going to be a big crowd, I'm extremely nervous. I'm like, now you don't have to look everybody in the eye. Like you said, you look at parts of the room, groups of people. And the more people, actually in that way, it should be less daunting. It should have less of a nervous center in your mind because of that. But we look at it as, hey, this is 100 people. I'm used to speaking to 10 people.
Right. The more people, the greater the likelihood that I'll leave a negative impression with more people, right? So I can do bad in front of 5 people, then only 5 people think I've performed poorly versus 500. Now I got 500 people who think I really stink. And we always come at it from this negative perspective, and really reframing that which holds us back.
The worst thing that ever happened to me on stage, and it was in front of about 750 people, was the alarm went off, the fire alarm. As a matter of fact, it happened in your city of Chicago. And the fire alarm went off, and we had to evacuate. And a half hour later, we were back in there, and they wanted us to continue, so I did. And the alarm went off. It went off for a second time. And out we went. And there's nothing you can do about those things. That's just going to happen. But as far as us performing or us connecting and engaging the audience, if we're ourselves and we're prepared, I believe, and we've rehearsed it and we know what we're doing, and we know most of all how we want to serve the audience, what's the worst that can happen?
I think you said the magic word. When we feel we are presenting, we often think of ourselves as the center of attention. And very few of us professional speakers are what I would call performers. There's a whole group of people who are performance presenters, and they do their thing, and they're trained actors or jugglers or, magicians. But the rest of us, well, then there's the celebrities, right? So you have your Heisman Trophy Award winner, and you have those big names, but they also work with speech coaches like you, because not all of them are born gifted communicators either. But the bulk of people who day in and day out present information are people with content others need to hear. And so when we see ourselves in service to others, a lot of the fear and dread should fall away, because it's not about how well we perform, but about how well we serve.
Much of what we're talking about here really goes to that point of it's about the audience. Like you said, the nerves get minimized.
That's right.
And then you know what your purpose is on stage. You know what you want to communicate. You know what you want the result to be when you realize it's all about the audience.
That's right. And whenever I get in a jam or, feel like I flubbed something, my ability to laugh at myself puts everyone around me at ease. Well, if she's laughing at herself, it's okay if we have a little giggle too. I remember one of my earliest presentations. I had my laptop on the podium, as I often do when I'm doing custom slides for a client, so I can see my notes, see the statistics. I'm not somebody who gives the same presentation every time. Of course, there are speakers who do, and it's very well-rehearsed yet dynamic. Mine are different every single time. So I've got my podium at the lectern, as I usually do, and I'm telling a particularly animated story that requires me to kind of take 3 hops across the stage. And the stage was a little rickety, and the hops bounced my laptop right off the podium onto the floor. I looked up, and the event planning committee, they had been having a little trouble with the AV team, the audio visual team. So I made a quick, funny joke about, well, we're just going to blame this on those AV guys. And then I waved to the back of the room, hello, AV guys, right? And I picked up my laptop and carried, everybody kind of had a laugh and carried on. And, it was in that presentation that the first Speakers Bureau asked me if they could represent me, because I was just naturally in the moment, in the flow, and able to handle, what could arguably be a nightmare. But, you just pick it up and you move along, and that just puts everybody at ease.
As people say, that's the mark of a professional. Speaking about servicing the audience, and it's all about them. Many people I listen to say It's the message. The message is the most important part. And then you'll hear other people say, well, without a delivery that's engaging, you won't be able to deliver that message. Do you see them that way, that one's more important than the other, or do you see them equally important?
I come at it a whole different way. When I'm hired to speak, I ask the client, what is it you want the audience to know or to do? Or how should they feel differently after spending an hour with me, or a half day, or a full day? What do you want them to stop, start, or continue doing? And then I back up, I create a program that serves that purpose. So it's part message. They have to be able to understand the ask of them, but it's also a big part delivery. Are you sharing the information in a way that it can be absorbed, processed, and acted upon? So I guess it's a neither for me.
That's very interesting. I like the way that you talk about having a customized presentation for each of your audiences. And I know some people, and some people make this work, but I know some people who go out and they have the same message no matter who the audience is. I can't do that. I'm more like you. If I go out and speak about the benefits of delivering a concise, compelling message, and I'm speaking to college students, that can't be the same presentation, at least not in my mind. If I'm speaking to a group of high-level business people, managers, C-suites, and the like, it can't be the same presentation. What do you think?
Well, it can be the same message, but not the same presentation.
Right.
And I'm the same way. I have a growing archive of signature stories that help me articulate a point or demonstrate the behavior I'm trying to teach. And so those stories surface in different presentations at different times. Often the ask I make of the audience. So, for 30 days, I'm going to challenge you to do X or practice Y, whatever that is. That might not be that different from audience to audience, but how I motivate them to sit up and listen, to take heed of what I'm sharing, absolutely depends on the people in the room.
We're giving a lot of advice here. Can you give one more piece of advice, no matter what it may be, for potential speakers or even accomplished speakers that they could take with them and help hone their own skills?
I will leave you with a few tips that have served me well. One is, as we've talked about, really practicing your craft. Even if you have no intention of becoming a professional speaker, if speaking is just a marketing funnel for your accounting practice or your real estate business, whatever it is, you want to take the stage with pride and confidence that you've spent some time honing your skills. And even the most accomplished speakers continue to practice as they create new material. So wherever you can, however you can, keep practicing. The other advice I would have for especially newer speakers, emerging speakers, is to start telling the people you know that you are a speaker. There is no, I'm thinking about, I might someday. There is, I'm a speaker and I help people learn or do whatever it is you help people learn or do. So in telling people you speak, you're available to speak, your network becomes an extension of your sales force. And so you do that through how you show up online, how you show up on LinkedIn with what I call your airplane pitch, otherwise known as the elevator pitch, but I really don't think we talk to strangers in elevators much these days anymore. But, how your email signature from your Yahoo or your Gmail account, you're an accountant and a speaker, an attorney and a speaker, whatever it is. Start owning this space and you'll find yourself with increased opportunity to practice your craft and truly pursue professional speaking.
Why do you think it is that people don't do that, where they'll say, I'm an accountant, but they don't add in and speaker?
No, I honestly think it doesn't occur to anybody because we live, this is a big presentation that I give, Peter, to my clients, is you can't live behind the official job title. The official job title doesn't convey nearly all that you are and can do. I'm a human resources manager. I'm a marketing manager. I'm a project manager. Like, what is that? What are you good at? Well, you might be good at, talent management or culture or benefits analysis, but also good at communications and speaking and motivating teams, whatever that is. I think we get caught up on our official titles, and so I want people to look in the mirror and officially give themselves the title of speaker. Just assign it to yourselves and own it and start letting others in on this big secret. Because as we mentioned earlier in the interview, for very many years, all my business came by way of referral or by people finding me on LinkedIn or online for the keywords that I wanted to talk about. So I'm not just a speaker. I'm a speaker on, wealth management for college graduates or whatever that is. Own the space, define and own the space, and let others in on it. And then you'll have all kinds of opportunity coming your way.
You just spoke about promoting yourself in many different places, including LinkedIn and the like. Your service, Sway, that encompasses that, correct?
Yeah, the sway factor is the degree to which you behave in a way that generates demand for who you are and what you do. And if you want to do more speaking, you need to let others in on the fact that you are available to do exactly that. You can't get from the universe, from your network, that which you're not willing to ask for. And in telling others what we're capable of doing, it's an implied ask for opportunity to do more of that. That's how I approach personal branding anyway.
Do you help people one-on-one? Is it all through the internet? How do you do that?
It's a great question. I've been increasingly asked to help people one-on-one, so I'm screening a little hard here. When I do private coaching, it's typically an executive or early career executive who is on a mission to catapult their career. Or it's a sales leader or business owner who understands that personal brands and business brands are almost one and the same these days. And so they want to make sure that they're leveraging those platforms to the highest extent possible. Increasingly, my large corporate clients are bringing me in to teach personal branding skills as a retention strategy. Let me let your audience in on a secret. If you're working for someone else and you're doing a good job, your employer does not want you to leave. They want you to market yourself in the company so that you can get the job you want, the lateral move, the promotion, the special project. They will not do that work for you. Gone are the days where companies move people around from post to post to help them become a more well-rounded leader. We're in an era where we have to market ourselves, even after we get the job. So this is a skill that you don't have to be a business owner or a professional speaker, but personal branding, and this is all that I do and love and teach, is a skill that I think every professional needs to have in their toolkit to succeed.
No doubt about that whatsoever. Where can our listeners go to learn more about Sway Factor?
Conveniently, they can go to simadahl.com. And I trust you'll put the spelling of my name in your podcast, but I'll say it here. It's Sima, Sima, like Sima down, Dahl, Dahl, like Roald Dahl, the author of James and the Giant Peach.com.
Thank you, Sima. I'll definitely put that in the notes as well. Hey, it's been a pleasure having you here, and I wish you the best. I know you have a new puppy, so enjoy your puppy.
It's been an honor and a pleasure chatting with you. I hope I've given your audience something to noodle on as they pursue their speaking skills and possibly professional career, and wishing everyone much success on the platform.
That's a wrap of another episode of Public Speaking with Peter George. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Tune in Monday when you'll hear another episode of Public Speaking with Peter George, and again Thursday for your next episode of Quick Bites, public speaking tips and techniques you can digest in 5 minutes or less. Until next time, remember, when it comes to speaking in public, you've got this.